So practice, as indeed our life is a mandala, a range of factors, concerns, conditions. Just our life is a mandala of relationships and activities and physical conditions and social conditions and aspirations and difficulties and so on. The whole kind of weave, isn't it? And this is the essential presentation of the reality or conditioned reality that the Buddha presented, is of no one condition stands alone. Everything is supported by everything else, for good and for bad. If you line up the good conditions, then you're going to get good results. If you line up the bad ones, you're going to get bad results. Most people get a bit of a mix, a lot of good, few ineffective or uncultivated aspects, things we're not so good at, we haven't really worked out. Great intellect, but physically quite not, physically quite sick or emotionally not very capable. And vice versa, people who are, very good with other people, but can't manage machinery and vice versa. People who are quite happy with crowds, groups of people who feel very frightened and closed down in groups of people, but are great individuals, So these different factors, we have to recognize, what are they, not just keep bringing forth the good ones, which is a good idea, at least for starters, but then you've also got to go back and review which are the ones that are not so effective, that need to be brought on up to, online. So this is the way you keep reviewing practice. And yesterday I was talking about the 5 indriya. These are, you might have not have noticed that, these 5, I call them guardians. They're also called powers, potencies, those which have capacity to work for you. And these are 5 indriya: faith, energy, mindfulness, samadhi, and wisdom, discernment, these 5. When they're called Indra. Indra was the king of the gods, so this means that someone who's really got a lot of authority, capacity to lead, direct you, their authorities. And with these, the Buddha says these 5, when properly matured, merge in the deathless. And when they're all blended together, this is really interesting, isn't it? When these heart qualities, Dhamma qualities, pertinent to this particular realm, this particular way of experience, when these merge together, then the result is the liberation, or the realization of an undying reality, or a quality that doesn't change even as circumstances change around it. They're pretty important qualities. And so that helps you to realize it's not just about being mindful. No, it's not just about being kind. No, those are all good things, but it's about how everything blends together. And so we can see, like they're always described as having to be balanced. So you can see, well, faith is a very open quality. It's that willingness, that beginner's mind, faith, okay, let's see. And that's generally balanced with wisdom, which means, yeah, let's see, but also let's keep alert. We're not going to just go blindly, naively into things. We're going to keep alert and discerning as to what's helpful and what's not helpful. What's skillful and what's not skillful, what's relevant and what's not relevant. So wisdom is a differentiating, discerning quality. But these two balance each other. They also support each other, because if there's no openness, you can't really have any wisdom if you're just all closed down. You need something to work around it. You've got to have a sense of everything's on the table. Let's just look at it before we can really sort it out. Now, if you're not prepared to put everything on the table, it means you have a sense of you're only putting half yourself on the table, then you're not going to get very wise. So you've got to bring it all forth, being open to all of it, the confusing, the bright, the poignant, disturbed, all of it. So that sense of just opening as this. These are the conditioned realm. And not having a prejudgment. Sometimes we don't. So discernment, just see, well, this just needs a little bit of time. There's nothing wrong with it, just needs more time to develop. This kind of strength, this, anger that you have, this kind of impatience and fury, yeah, it's good to have the strength of that, but you need to put it in the right direction. This sense of doubt, skepsis, and uncertainty, that's good. You're not going to buy anything useless, but also you're not going to buy anything useful. So you've got to say, if you're in a sense of doubt, when you're witnessing that, say, well, in all this, where is the certainty? The certainty is that doubt can't settle anywhere. Can't settle. It makes you feel unstable. So just even to know doubt is doubt, that's certain. And you can witness the movement of doubt, and you can see what doubt is trying to do. It's trying to find certainty in a thought. Well, if you're open to that and discern it, you find that you don't get certainty in a thought. Thoughts don't provide certainty. They provide things that seem to be certain, but actually everything is changeable. Things are inconstant. Cuddly dogs can also be savage animals. Nice, sweet cats can be killers. Whatever we describe something as, it's a bit bigger than that, and it's changeable. So you're seeing, thought is not a reliable sense that doesn't reliably give you certainty. So the sense of doubt is quite wise in a way, in that it doesn't believe in this thought or that thought, but the problem is it's still searching for a thought or an idea or a belief. And so with wisdom, you say, just look more clearly into why doubt is there. And what can you rely upon? So you can rely upon non-harming. That's not just an idea. You can rely upon sharing. That's not just an idea. So it turns you back to heart realities. You see, in wisdom, you can turn even unfavorable conditions when you understand what they're trying to do and how they just need guidance. So our fearfulness, when you feel frightened, overwhelmed, that's a sign. You need to be alert. Be alert. And you take the fearfulness or the uncertainty, be alert, because things are uncertain and you are vulnerable. With that alertness, you come back to stability. Your alertness is stable. Your alertness is stable. Because things are uncertain and threatening, we need to be very alert. And therefore, you find a steady center in the middle of a cosmos that is vast and unmanageable. So wisdom, open things up, look squarely at some of these things, these qualities we find problematic, passions. You know, what are they trying to do? They're trying to warm us up, give us some life, make us feel more alive. They get passionately involved with this or with that, or with him or with her. What's it trying to do? Make us feel rich and full and alive. Good idea. But it doesn't happen that way. It happens through bringing it back home. A lot of the time we're throwing ourselves away onto, you know, objects, conditions that we can't actually provide what we're looking for. So similarly, in your Dhamma practice, you can have a range of different teachers and teachings, and which is the right one. Very well. Notice the results. The effect. Generally, a lot of them have got some rightness in them. Otherwise, you wouldn't be listening to them. But none of them, I wouldn't imagine any of them, including mine, are exactly right for you all the time. So, but then nothing can be, can it? The only thing that could be right for you all the time, really, is your own discernment, faith, mindfulness, energy, and collectedness. These two other indriya, energy and samadhi, collectedness, also help to balance each other, also enrich each other. Just as the role of wisdom eventually is to give us more confidence in our own hearts, yeah, because you do realize you can know and you can see, and it's not through acquiring ideas from other people, though other people can certainly nudge and remind you and get you to look at things for yourself. Mm-hmm. So the role of discernment is to increase your faith until you have confidence where confidence is possible, in your own heart, in your own practice. And all teaching should eventually lead back to that, encourage that, find a pathway to that. Now, I'm saying with energy and samadhi or collectedness, composure, settledness, in some ways they balance each other out. Energy, if you're getting too settled and stagnant, then you want some more energy to liven things up. Sometimes people, when they aim for calm, get rather dull and quietist, which means we resist having any being affected or involved with anything. We just want to close down and be completely quiet. You don't have to deal with thoughts and feelings. And the idea is to constantly turn the energy down, quieten it down. Well, energy is a vital part of practice. So calm generally comes rather later in cultivation. Deep calm comes rather late. The first thing is to get your energy right. That's why it's the second indriya, get your energy right. When energy is right, and then it's going to support embodiment. You're going to withdraw your energy from external conditions, from irrelevant conditions. So it needs wisdom. Don't put energy into that. Leave that alone. Don't bother with that. Don't let your mind run off into that. It's not necessary now. And so you withdraw, you disengage. Doesn't mean you shut down, shut your energy down. You just withdraw it from those topics, those areas, and you bring it back. You bring it back. You bring it back. You bring it back to center or central issues. Where is my stability? Where is my openness? Where is my clarity? Bringing it back. So bringing it back from the sense world, where it's by default, it runs out into the sense world, and you're bringing it back to the heart realm. So the heart is not spent, spending its treasures. This naturally, this viveka, this disengagement, is an important thing to emphasize, since, you know, daily life, social world, generally getting a living, it expects you to give heart, soul, body, mind to the work. So you get that tremendous encouragement to drive your energy out, productivity, gains, speed, new, and so forth. And even when you're not working, the idea is be stimulated, go to a vibrant place, get vibrant, stimulated. You know, how exciting, have an exciting time. So all your energy is just, poured out. So we say, no, actually, those sounds good, otherwise you wouldn't bother to do it. But the results are you lose vitality in the center. And so this sense of withdrawal, gathering energy together into your embodiment, complete embodiment, both from your top of your head down to the soles of your feet, across your body, and even into the ground and the space around you, and also into the qualities there, the warming, the vibrancy, the firmness, the way it moves. So you're really with it and keeping everything collected in it, and also knowing how to move when you do walking meditation, how to move smoothly, so the energy flows as you move along. And this itself is an education, because certainly, walking for many people, or for average persons, it's generally a matter of getting somewhere, with the idea of getting there fairly quickly. So it's a scuttle, it's a rush. It's not you're not concerned with the composure and the deportment of the body. You're concerned with getting to where you need to go. So your energy in walking is immediately thrusting forward. And same thing with conversations. Your energy in a conversation will be to get to the end of the conversation, to get your point across, to get to the end of the sentence before you've begun it. So it's this kind of rushing on energy, or also targeted energy. It has to get to that point. So the mode of which way energy moves, we don't really even notice. It just zaps out, and it can come out very blurred and hasty, and we lose grace, we lose receptivity, we lose wholeness. Bits of our mind are rushing off in different directions, leaving the rest of us behind. You see that you go into city life, people are often just like heads on wheels, or heads not even on wheels, but heads with rocket ships on them, just rushing off here, there, and losing contact with the body in the here and now. So energy moderated, and this is the skill. It disengage, draw back. Now, this kind of collecting, you see, that's not about concentrating as such, although you can say that it has a concentrating effect. The effect is of discerning and releasing and centering what feels more stable. So it's a wise process of engaging and settling in and feeling the qualities of settling in, which means you linger. And the two agents, or two of the agents of that are, it's called, in Buddhism, it's called Vitakka Vichara, which Vitakka Vichara, you can look it up, but it means you both place your attention on something and you listen to it. How's that? You touch something, how's that? You see, you notice something, how's that? You place your attention on your body, how's that? You place your attention on your feet as you walk, how's that? It's touching, placing and sensing, how's that? How's that? And you lengthen, as you lengthen the lingering process of evaluating, of sensing, of dwelling in, then you get the finer, subtler qualities of that experience. And particularly in terms of feeling energies in your body and mind, body and heart, this lingering is very important, because we might think, okay, when if I, take 3 steps, as soon as I've taken those 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, that's the end of that. No, it's not. That may be the end of the sensations, but the energy, is moving on. It takes a little while for it to settle down, doesn't it? Just as it took you, obviously, when you're running, you run somewhere and you stop running, your energy doesn't stop running, it's running and then slowing and slowing and slowing. And breathing is the same thing. You may think, okay, that's the end of the in-breath, then the out-breath begins. Not really. If you follow the energy of it, it doesn't exactly begin and end. It wells up, it's welling up. It comes to we think the inhalation is ending, and in fact it's just opening and pause and lingering and opening. You stay there, sensing in that lingering how aspects of your nervous system, your nervous energy start to unfold into deeper receptivity. And then the breathing out. As you breathe out, you release, 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 release. As you breathe out, you get to what you feel is the end of the out breath, but still the releasing quality can still continue. And you get deeper, deeper, deeper releasing. So even though the sensations have passed away, the energy doesn't pass away. It just goes through phases. And often the most phases that we miss are what we call the beginnings of endings of experience. Because in terms of energy, they don't end. It's like the sea, the wave wells up and it goes into a trough and it wells up again. But there's no break. There's no 1, 2, 3. There's just this waving. And it's in the welling up. If you're lingering, noticing what wells up and how it passes away, also your energy system begins to become much wider and more subtle and receptive. Because if it's just stopping at the end of something and starting again, do you get what I mean? I mean, things haven't retained the openness and subtler qualities of energetic extension and receptivity are being cut off. And so if you're breathing out, feeling the out breath, and somewhere near the end of it, there can be an emotional sense of letting go and trust and quietening and non-doing. And non-doing. That's a very important aspect of your life to be with. When your energy is not doing, but it's not dead. It's alive, potent, restful, gathering. And then the inhalation rises out of that. It comes to the top, and it's open, opening, opening. Till it's complete. So in that openness is a tremendous kind of space that we sense. You can sense everything is on. Everything's paused. Everything. The next moment we don't know, and we don't need to know, because this energy is subtle, but our attention is being held by that into openness. Yeah, and then it turns again. This keeps practice fresh. Obviously, something like following breathing can get pretty tedious if you do it mechanically. 1 breath, 2 breaths, count to 10, back again. Yeah, how long do you want to play that game before it gets kind of tedious? Kind of like, so what? Because, yeah. Because we're still on top of it, deciding 1, 2, 3, 4, I've got to get this right. And that attitude is not respectful. It's not, it's too controlling, too goal-oriented. We don't need it. Sure, your mind's going to wander, but just returning, getting interested in how is the breathing feeling now, reminding ourselves, vitakka, place it back. How is it now? Vichara, linger, open to it. And it's not just, oh, it's another breath. It's always a sense of the whole body is opening. Notice what is opening. How do you feel that? And when your heart connects to that, what's that experience? The heart being opened. And of course, although the opening of the bodily energy is deeply refreshing and quite beautiful, the opening of the heart energy is truly transformative, because our heart energy is normally held within a particular frame of reference, often to do with ownership, making things happen. It's held within an identity package. This is mine, I own, or I'm trying to own, get things done. So its energies are rather biased and limited. Now when the heart opens, and so there's no owning, no having to anything, no obligation, we call this released. And lingering in that, when there's no need for the next moment. There's no right or wrong. Lingering in that. Learning to linger in that rather than what I'm supposed to be doing now. So this, and then for that you have to follow the energy. That's what it wants to do. That's its nature. It's like the waves of the sea. They want to rise and fall. And if you stay with that process, you're going to find it begins to dissolve a lot of the old fixed patterns, certainties, and constrictions that we experience. And it's this dissolving of that that is supportive of samadhi, or deepening, collecting. It's not the old pattern becoming more fixed and it's not the old attitudes finally finding a way they can own and control and make things stop the way they should do. No, it's the relinquishment of the old attitudes and finding an unforced, uncontrolled stability that feels pleasant, supportive, that carries you rather than you doing it. So this is if this is cultivated, then we get past the dreary meditation experience where we think we're just struggling and trying to make it work and trying to get mindful and so forth. We get past that to feel this is the place where I, if I find a balance and I reflect on these qualities and carry them through and learn, I get tremendous resources that are beyond me as a person. It really is a sacred process. So, energy properly steered supports collectedness. And of course, the theme of collectedness helps us to steer energy, like don't let energy rush out here and there, gather it together. Yeah. And so you do gathering it together, but then not just closing it down, but feeling it, putting it in the right track, putting the track of the body, the track of the breathing, putting it in the right track so it begins to lose its wayward patterns. And then opening the heart to it. So the heart loses its fear, anxiety, need to be, and it can release. And so then right energy supports collectedness, collectedness supports right energy. Right energy counteracts the idea of everything going quiet, but it does bring around the result of serenity. And mindfulness is, the fifth of these is just bearing all this in mind, bearing this in mind, bearing the process in mind, staying in tune. You could say vitakka vichara is an agent of mindfulness. It's keeping us on track, on topic. Yeah. And wisdom is a function of mindfulness. It's giving us what's called sampajano, direct knowing, clear knowing, rather than abstract knowing how things are. So mindfulness supports this view, this clear comprehension, sampajano. So mindfulness is bound up with all of these, and all of these support mindfulness, so that we do stay on topic, the topic of liberation, topic of release, the topic of unbinding from our stuck stuff, topic of release from clinging. And there are many different ways you can frame this topic, nibbana, the unbinding, non-clinging, liberation, the deathless, unconditioned, free from conditions. Open stability is another phrase you can use, because it all amounts to the same core experience. And you begin to understand, why is there clinging? Because we're looking for stability, but the clinging is a mistaken search for that. Trying to find stability by holding on to ideas, views, trying to maintain stability by holding on to notions of oneself. It's the motivation is instinctive. Let me find stability, but that needs wise guidance. Actually, it's through the letting go of these we find the true stability. And as we get more stable in our practice, there is the ability to let go. Because letting go naturally is something it's an easy phrase to roll off the tongue, isn't it? But often we're dealing with things that are not, we don't decide to cling. It's a reflex that happens when we lose our stability, and we get knocked around. We do get knocked around. And so we grab hold of something that will give me some comfort. I do feel lost and bereft, therefore I cling to something that will give me some sense of gratification and happiness. And it's a reflex. So you can't cut the reflex until you realign it. That search for stability and happiness is a reasonable search. You're just pointing in the wrong direction. We need to return to something so intrinsic that we overlook it, which is our own center. So intrinsic that we overlook it, so intrinsic, and yet we barely know what we're talking about. Yeah. And yet all the time, there's that center. The average person calls it me. Okay, call it me if you like, except it has no name, no body, no nationality, no language. You want to call it me, you can call it me. But it's not the kind of me that people normally call a me, because it doesn't have any territory. It's not a physical thing. It's the release from that. You could say, in some teachings, they call it my true self. You could call it that, I guess. Except why call it a self? What's so self about it? Since it's the same for everyone, I don't have the patent on it. It's not just belongs to Ajahn Sucitto's. It's everybody's. It's where the heart finds its rest. So I don't call it a self, because there's nothing that separates it from anything else at that level. At that level of release, there's no differentiation. So you can't really call it self or me, but you can call it the undifferentiated. Of course, the undifferentiated is not a great phrase. It doesn't sound particularly attractive. So it's okay about release or deathless or non-clinging, or another word, not suffering. That sounds good. I'll aim for that. The non-suffering. And so this is what these 5 indriya properly cultivated bring around.